there, fictional friends, and welcome to another episode of Fully Booked. I'm Megan.
And I'm Shireen.
And we are still in high fantasy month here. It's June. Yay. We love fantasy.
We do love fantasy.
Especially Shireen.
Megan's,
I love it. I love it too. I love it too, just maybe not with the same fervor that you have.
I think that's a good way of describing it. I get a little feral when I get a good book.
And I'm just somebody, I'm like this with like tastes in music and in movies and in books. I like a little bit of everything. Yeah. I'm not someone who's like, I only read one genre.
I am obsessed with this one thing. That's me.
Yeah, I don't do that. I prefer a little bit of like an eclectic mix of things because it just keeps things interesting.
It's definitely a more balanced way of living your life.
I guess so. Sure. I don't know. I'm so used to seeing like rabid fandoms on the internet. So at this point, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I don't fit into any of them, so it's fine. So today we're going to be talking about high fantasy, either books, series, whatever, duologies, trilogies. I don't care how long the series are. Most of them are more than one book, though, let's be real, that we feel are kind of itching for a screen adaptation of some kind.
Oh, yes.
So we're just going to get into that a little bit because I think a lot of people probably have opinions with regards to this. Before we get started, though, Shireen, what's on your nightstand?
I've been reading, actually, something that's more a you kind of book.
Yes, ma'am.
I picked it up and I was like, you know what? Why not? I read the back of it. It's The Only One Left by Riley Sager.
Yeah.
And thought it sounded interesting. It's kind of a gothic, like a modern gothic meets Lizzie Borden kind of story.
Yeah, it's like if you like true crime and gothic stuff.
Yeah. And so it takes place in the 80s. The story is of this caregiver named Kit who has been tasked or, given the, assignment to go and take care of this woman, Lenora Hope, who back in 1929, the book takes place in the 80s, but back in 1929, Lenora Hope murdered her whole family, allegedly. She was never convicted of it. When she was 17 years old, she murdered her parents and her sister.
Yeah.
And very, like you said, very Lizzie Borden because of, the rhyme.
Since she was exonerated, in the end, of course, it's like, she's been living as some sort of pariah up in her family's old house this entire time.
But it's very gothic. Very like, we're in a spooky house and all the spooky things happen. And
For sure.
It's good, but like during some points, I'm just like,
sorry, there's something very strange on the skylight window in here. And
it looks like a pizza box.
It just distracted both of us completely. I was like, what's that?
Anyway, but it's very like gothic, but like almost like too like, now we're doing gothic. Now we're doing like Lizzie Borden. Now we're doing gothic. So it's very good.
Yeah, it does kind of jump back and forth. I don't know that it's my favorite Riley Sager book. I think there are one or two that I maybe haven't read, but I've probably read like at least 5 of his books. Because usually there's a new one coming out this month that you guys are listening to this podcast. There's a new one that's dropping, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But what I do appreciate about his stuff is that all the stories are different and all of them have a different tone. So not everything's like, it's gothic and there's a big creepy house. Like, that's not really the case a lot of the time. All of them have a very different style to them and the stories themselves are very different, which I appreciate because I'm like, okay, great. I can't quite always see what is coming. Yes, there will be twists, but what they will be, I don't know.
Yeah, but all that to say, I'm quite enjoying it, and I probably will ask if I can borrow some of his other stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I've got a bunch.
What about you, Megan?
So I recently read, I just read them back to back for fun because they were like really easy reads. A series is kind of I guess it's like a cozy mystery series, essentially. There's just like a lot of humor in it. So I read the first book, the first 2 books actually. So the first book's called Dial A for Aunties. It follows this woman named Medlin, or Medi, everybody calls her. She works as a wedding photographer with her mom and her aunts. They're Chinese Indonesian, and they have a small business basically where they have kind of combined everything together. She's the photographer. There is like a wedding planner. One of the aunts does like hair and makeup. The other one does like the food, like the catering and stuff like that. So they're like an all-in-one business for people. And Anyway, I won't give away like all of like the specifics of what happens.
Spoilers,
No,
Megan.
okay, but I won't give away all the specifics. But what I will say is that this guy that she is set up on a blind date with by her mom winds up dead.
Oh, jeez.
And she panics, calls her mom and her aunts, and they proceed to try over the next few days to hide the body because they have a big wedding that they're taking care of. They arrive at the hotel that it's happening at, and her college sweetheart owns the hotel, it turns out, and there are still a lot of lingering feelings on both sides of things for both of them. So there's like a rekindling happening on one end while they're trying to cover up this death on the other hand. And her mom and her aunties are so funny.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, my God, they're incredible. They are hilarious. And it makes me wish I had, like, a bigger family of people who were just like this, because it would have been, like, a really funny way to grow up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they have to work to try and, like, sort of fix all of this before everybody realizes what's actually happened.
Right.
And someone finds the body that they have with them on a small island where this hotel is located.
That's so funny.
And then the second book, which is 4 Aunties and a Wedding, her and the former college sweetheart, now fiance, are getting married. And the company, like the people that they've hired to take care of everything for them for the wedding so that her mom and her aunts can just be guests, it turns out that they're not who they appear to be, and there's like a whole other like bunch of stuff that happens with that dynamic as well, where we're trying not to give anything away to like the groom and stuff like that, but also they're like, oh hey, these people are trying to like sabotage things, that's not good.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're just funny, they're really funny. I know there's a third book that I think was published in March of this year that I'm probably gonna pick up because they're really fun. They're like super fast to get through, and like legitimately just because of the absurdities, you laugh out loud like at several points while you're reading.
I love books like
you're
that.
Just like, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
So lighthearted.
Yeah, so I always appreciate those. So those have been really fun. That was just like kind of, I don't know, I finished like a couple of, I guess, like bigger books, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick up something like fun and light and whatever. And then I read the first one and it was so funny that I had the second one and I was like, sure, I'll read it right after. Why not? Exactly.
Yeah, it's very unlike you to read a book right away.
It doesn't happen often, but when there's such easy reads like that, I find it's like very, I don't know, it's much more straightforward for me to be like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll do that. Why not?
That's just me still being salty that it took her so long to get through A Court of Thorns and Roses.
I'm not through it yet, though.
How are you not done yet?
I have 2 more books. I've only read 3 of them.
I mean, you've read the meat of the story.
I mean, to a degree, yeah, for sure. So
at least, like, I'll let you off the hook.
I'm gonna read. Oh yeah, thanks so much. I'm gonna read the other ones. I don't care. That's our dynamic. She gets mad about these things, and I do not care.
It's great.
Okay, so high fantasy that maybe is being turned into something, or at least has like the rights have been secured, because we all know that then it can just languish in hell forever.
And I hate that. Like, I hate that that's a thing. Like, I'm going to start on my soapbox here. Like, these books, many of these series are just widely adored by the fan bases. I will take A Court of Thorns and Roses as our first example.
There are a ton.
There are a ton of them. And these, production companies secure the rights to make them, and then they just leave them on the shelf for years.
For 4 years.
And it's like, okay, no, you shouldn't be allowed to do that.
I know.
You should have to start production right away. If not, leave it up to somebody else to do it.
I know. Yeah, it would be good. I think often what it comes down to, more than anything, are really the budgets that they have to secure for these types of productions, just because you know that with fantasy, especially high fantasy, so often there's so much that's going to go into
world building is expensive.
World building, yeah, that's it exactly. Like the sets, the costumes, the CG work, the makeup, the hair, like all of this stuff.
Don't forget, you've got like a feral fan base like myself, who's like, if you don't do it properly, I'm gonna come after you.
I'm going to kill you, which is crazy. Yeah, I feel like we used to be a lot less intense about this because it's so funny. It's only on like rewatch now that like Twilight, for instance, it's only on rewatch that people are like, this was so fucking badly cast, and it's horrible. It's only in looking back at it. But when everybody was like 17, 18, they were like, oh my God, it's Twilight. what? And everybody got all
because
excited
we got
about it.
something,
I know,
right? Like
I
we
know.
didn't care because we were like, oh, it's something.
I know.
You know? And it was the same like with Harry Potter.
And I
like,
just
let's
don't-
be honest,
yeah.
Harry Potter was not like
And I just,
that well done.
I just don't think that that's the case anymore.
It was well done as a standalone. Please don't come at me.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Look.
super cozy. We love it. But like, if you were a hardcore book fan, like there were big chunks
with
missing.
regards to like a lot of the plot points and things that were left out, I think that's more what it is than anything else.
And like some of the acting was a little off.
It was, especially in those earlier movies.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But otherwise, yeah. So there are a number of high fantasy series that, and like just standalone books, duologies, whatever, that the rights have been secured. And
For sure.
I've found a list, but you know, there's also the ones out there that maybe haven't yet been secured.
Well, I'm
And-
surprised. I mean, okay, so we're starting slowly but surely to head into, I don't know, maybe a bit of a renaissance with these or something now.
as we mentioned.
Yeah, because we have gotten some things in the last few years, especially from like Amazon because of like Rings of Power, Wheel of Time,
Yes.
like those types of things. Those are ones that are very much in that wheelhouse. And in that same wheelhouse of like very traditional high fantasy, I'm really surprised that they haven't really done much with regards to adapting like Brandon Sanderson's stuff. Like the Mistborn series is so fucking popular and it's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I'm really surprised that no one's like really taken that leap at
Well, there's
all.
a lot of them. Like when you think about it, like Game of Thrones was adapted, and those were written like in the 80s, I think.
Were they?
Yeah, they were written a long time ago, maybe early 90s. But but there's a number of like older high fantasy series, not like ones that have come out recently.
No, I'm thinking that's it, like Mistborn. What else am I thinking of? Earthsea from Ursula K. Le Guin. Like she's had a bunch of stuff
had
that
a
you
bunch.
could.
There's that Patrick Rothfuss one.
Oh yeah, there are a few of those, but I forget what that series is called.
Is it like the name of the wind or something?
Yeah,
I might be wrong. Please don't quote me on that. Please don't come at me.
It's probably something along those lines, but yes, I know what you mean. Name of the Wind.
Oh, hey.
I can see it on your
Can
bookshelf.
you see it? I'm looking for it
Yeah, I
right
can see it
now.
on your bookshelf.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's Eric. Crap. Anyway, there's another.
There are a lot of them. I think we can establish that there are quite a few of them. But it's like, and how Dragon Riders of Pern from Anne McCaffrey is another one that was really popular for a long time. That could probably do with something. And I mean, hey, if you did that would probably give way to Fourth Wing.
Okay, well, I mean, Fourth Wing's a newer one, right? Like, so if we're
Agreed.
gonna get into the newer stuff, like, there's a ton.
No,
of
there's a
stuff.
ton of them, but I am trying to think if that's it, like sort of what would
The
give way to
older
what.
stuff,
Yeah, and I mean, even like, I guess even if you're getting into some of like, I'm surprised that there haven't been more adaptations with these last like 5 or 6 years, this whole rash of mythology retellings and stuff like Circe and Song of Achilles and stuff. I'm really surprised that like those haven't gotten anything
I
yet.
feel like those are gonna come after this high fantasy renaissance.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, that's my inkling, because we had a bit of a boom of those a while ago.
We did we?
Well, they were like the real Greek mythologies, like Troy and like
Those kinds of Okay. I know what you're talking about, because I was
where
like,
they were
we
all,
did.
like, super whitewashed, but
Those were terrible.
yeah, I know, but they were still there.
Yeah, no, that's true. And there are just like there are so many of them. It's crazy. Shannara Chronicles, like Terry.
They
Brooks.
actually made a
Oh
show
my God,
of that.
yeah, I forgot about that. I watched it. It was not great.
It was not great,
No.
but it was there.
It was the beginning of Austin Butler for people who only know him
Yes,
now.
he
He was like the
was
main
in that.
character.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that now.
That ran for a few seasons.
It did,
actually,
yeah.
I think, but it was so very under the radar.
Yep.
And it's too bad because I mostly remember the first season of it, but particularly the first season, like there was a decent budget attached to it.
Yeah.
There was an actual story
It
involved.
didn't get like a whole bunch of like attention.
No, it
but
didn't at
I
all.
watched that, and then I went out and I bought
the books, right? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I actually preferred the show to the books. To be
Really?
honest. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we are. I mean, maybe we are, right? Because we've gotten Rings of Power, we've gotten Wheel of Time, we've gotten The Witcher, which kind of falls into that.
Yeah.
A little bit. I know there's a lot of monsters and it's very dark, but it's still kind of technically
It's still very high fantasy.
It feels very high
Very much,
fantasy.
yeah.
Because of the world that exists in there.
I mean, it's certainly not a historical fiction. Like,
No, God, no. No, and I wouldn't consider it like low fantasy or anything because,
Yeah.
again, the world doesn't exist.
Right.
So,
But then you move into the more modern stuff that's come out.
Yeah, of course.
The modern adaptations. First one that comes to mind, we've mentioned it in a previous episode, is Shadow and Bone.
yeah, that's true.
By Lee Bardugo. They did a fantastic job, in my opinion, of adapting that.
I know a lot of people did not feel that way,
I know they
but-
didn't. The casting was excellent
Okay.
in that show. And I saw that they've actually secured the rights. I think Amazon has secured the rights to adapting another one of Lee Bardugo's novels called Ninth House. And I believe that Lee Bardugo is going to be the screenwriter and one of the producers. And she's going to do it alongside of one of the other producers that did Shadow and Bone. So that one, I think there's probably a good chance of that one actually happening.
Normally, when the author is like involved in a really serious way now, because it didn't used to be the case, people used to just like take the rights and roll with it.
Yeah.
But oftentimes now the writers are actually given at least a little bit of a voice
Yeah.
with regards to a series. And I think that helps.
Definitely.
Overall, I'm not saying that everything will be perfect, and we all as readers, we all have to stop being so
Picky.
intense and picky about how much, like, not everyone's going to look exactly the way that you picture them. Some things are going to have to be altered because they just cannot be translated properly to screen. Like, that's just what it is.
Well, I think we need to go back to our old mindset like we had with Twilight, where
We
it's
were
like,
just
well, we
happy
got
to have something. Yeah, that's
it.
it exactly. We were just happy to have anything. We were just happy to have Harry Potter. We were happy to have Twilight and stuff.
Well, because what's happening now is, like, again, I go back to A Court of Thorns and Roses. Hulu secured the rights in 2018, and now they fucking dropped it.
Yeah, of course.
Because, like, they just know that it's, I don't know if this is the case, but, like, you can imagine, like, how difficult would it be to adapt this?
Really, really hard. Yeah, that's it.
With the expectations
Yeah.
behind it, like, I would be hard-pressed to say it would actually be easier to adapt the Throne of Glass series.
Maybe.
Because while, there's a big fan base
Yeah.
for anything that Sarah Moss has written, I think ACOTAR has the biggest following.
It does have the biggest following,
Yeah.
for sure. I think it has the most attention of any of them. So, yeah. And it's so funny, too, because to think off the top, because of, like, the sequences and the epicness and the battles and stuff, it's almost like Throne of Glass would be hard to do in terms of budget and stuff.
Oh,
because
definitely.
it would be on such a
also
large
8 books.
Yeah, it's such a
it's 8
large
books.
scale. So that would be it's interesting to think that, like, maybe you'd get less flack for it. However,
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? So that one, there's what else is there? There's From Blood and Ash has been secured the
Yes.
rights.
And Jennifer Armentrout's been writing stuff for quite a while, as far as I remember.
She's got a lot of stuff.
She
She's
really
got
does.
a lot of stuff.
She does. I think some of her stuff is a little bit more like urban fantasy, if I'm not mistaken, like a little bit of it. But I'm surprised that this hasn't happened.
I would personally love to see Carrie Maniscalco's Kingdom of the Wicked adapted.
That could be really interesting.
It
that
would
would
be
also
really good.
It would also
and
fit
that
in.
would be like your ultimate shadow daddy.
Well, there you go. And that would, and also that would lean into that, like, oh, we like The Witcher because it's dark.
Yeah, well, it would kind of like
Not anymore.
It would be like
Okay,
very
I know we
dark,
liked it before, but
yeah. Well, it would be like very dark Lucifer if you adapted.
Okay,
that
Kingdom
one.
of the Wicked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you read it yet?
No.
But you did buy it.
I have. I actually have all 3 of them.
I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Like, that would be. It would be interesting to see some of these newer ones would be interesting, but who knows, right? Like, maybe some of them will actually start like pre-production. I think the day that some of the big ones are announced, because I am thinking I think I had read at one point that unsurprisingly, the rights have already been secured for Fourth Wing, but again,
Have they really?
Yeah. But I mean, don't we want that? We love fucking dragons. Everybody loves Game of Thrones.
But we love dragons.
We love, that's what I mean. We love dragons, and these dragons talk.
I know, they're so good.
Or they communicate in
love
some
them.
way,
Yeah.
like telepathically. I don't know how they do it.
Well, they would
but-
still need a voiceover. Like,
Yeah.
hello, like, remember when the
Right.
Desolation of Smaug came out? Like, we loved that.
So we loved that. We loved a dragon that had a whole conversation.
yeah. Well,
So-
this is it. So, like, others that have been secured, the Atlas 6 has been secured by Amazon.
That's a different one. That would be interesting.
It would be. Now, fun story around that one. I don't know if you know this, but that was a self-published novel on Kindle.
Really?
And then it became so successful that there was a huge bidding war that ensued for publishing rights.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, so that's nuts, eh?
That's
like,
cool.
anybody who's an aspiring writer, do not knock yourselves.
And
you know?
honestly, guys, like, any time that there's, like, with the amount of like bullshit that gets put out there and adapted,
Yeah, I think
and like
there's,
these
like, appetite for fucking anything.
yeah, that's
now.
it. Like these terrible things that get like, you know, look, we've been through fucking 5 after movies so far. We've been through.
If After can do it, then we can all do it.
If 365 Days can do it, like write that screenplay, write that book, everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sure that people will be interested in it somewhere. I don't care what the idea is. You know what? Believe in yourself. I'm sure that someone somewhere will want to read that and we'll pick it up and we'll do something for you that way. 100%.
Yep.
Listen, with the amount of fucking werewolf porn that's out there, yeah, Omegaverse.
Megan loves werewolves.
I don't like the porn is weird.
There, she's admitting she's read it.
I haven't actually. My real introduction to the Omegaverse this year was just reading Bride by Ellie Hazelwood. That was like the closest that I've gotten so far. And how I learned about the whole nodding thing. That's weird, guys. Is that a thing that's in all? Apparently, people were like, "Oh, haha, you're all just learning about this now," and I was like, "Yeah, why is this a thing?"
This is super niche,
This
y'all.
is very strange. Yeah, so that's been my only introduction to this so far. But have you guys seen? I keep getting recommendations, and part of me wants to watch them on TikTok. I'm getting ads for the short form content that I think the videos are only like 2 minutes at a time or so. But it's like another streaming service a la Passionflix, but like they've got a bunch of like the werewolf porn stuff that they've turned into, and it looks like high school level production. This is Passionflix with no production value at all.
And like Passionflix has pretty bad production value already.
It's worse.
Like Tosca Muss brings her best, but like, wow.
I forget. There's something called like the Fated Mate or something. There's like a bunch of them.
Oh my god, Megan, we have to look into this.
I'm like, I kind of want to watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like we have to do this, and we definitely need to sit Dan in the corner while this is happening.
Oh my god,
he has the best commentary.
He might leave the room. Like I've only seen like 2 or 3 videos of this, but like it's. Oh my goodness.
Like raunchy?
No, it's just so
bad.
It's just so bad. It's on like another level. If I can find one if I can find either one of the videos or one of like the ads for it, I'm going to show it to you
watch it.
because it's like another it's just on another level, and I've only seen a couple of people talk about this, like make any kind of content around it, and I'm like, why is no one else getting these ads? Have I somehow been targeted for this?
Wow.
Just because I follow book shit. It's like, oh well.
We are digressing. Now, if I get us back on track, a couple of other ones that have been secured. There's the Holly Black novels, Cruel Prince. They're called the Folk of Air trilogy.
Folk of Air.
I've personally read the Cruel Prince. It was so boring. Shout out to KP, my friend, who is reading the second one, and
but people love that series.
I've never
read
it.
I'm not commenting. I've never read it. I have no opinion.
It's like full on YA. Like we snuck a kiss, and that's all we did.
Oh, okay. So probably it's for the Twilight nostalgia of it, where you can't get anything until book 3 or 4,
but it's
and then
not even that good.
Anything.
Like it's just like also like he's described as wearing pointy shoes all the time, which really like threw me off.
That's so funny. But that's like if they ever adapt ACOTAR, how are they going to do the masks in the first half of that story?
Fine. They'll just get some like Venetian masks or something.
I guess so, but they're like stuck to their face.
I know, yeah. Well,
how are they going to
be annoying for the actors?
Like it's going to be Lucian with a fox face.
Yeah, I know.
Fucking.
Well, they're going to have to get somebody who's a little fox-like looking, with some red hair.
That'll be so cute.
Red Queen has also been secured the rights. What's really interesting, what I'm finding as I'm reading through like the ones that have had the rights secured, is that they're all trying to turn them into TV shows. Like TV series.
You can't make movies out of these because
I get it, but we used to.
I know.
We used to make movies out of them, and I feel like that's where things kind of got really sticky, and the fandoms got really upset.
Yes, because they would cut so much out of them, especially if they were making one film without a guarantee of like a series being made out of it. That's what would happen, is that you'd make one movie and everybody would be like, what the fuck, half the story's gone.
Yeah.
You've like cut characters, you cut story arcs, you've cut all of these things out of there because they have no choice, again, but to shorten it down. So it's normal, I think, for these types of properties to just wind up in the television sphere.
But it makes you wonder, right? Because like if you think of things like Divergent or like Maze Runner or The Hunger Games.
Yeah.
these were like trilogies,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And they made movies out of them. So it was like book 1, book 2, book 3, 3 movies, 4 movies. They would often
put
split
so
it.
much stock into those doing well enough to already have like, okay, we're greenlighting like an entire series of movies instead of just one.
Right, but what I'm saying is that like if you take like the Holly Black ones, that's
Yeah.
a trilogy, and they're turning it into like a TV series, I believe.
I guess
so. It's just interesting, you know.
I think that the world of streaming has probably changed
Yeah.
a lot of that for us over time, right? Where like before, because people aren't going to the movies as much anymore,
they're not.
right? Like theaters aren't as full as they used to be for a lot of films that are coming out,
Which
and a
is
lot
too
of
bad.
It is too bad, honestly, because I mean, like I've always enjoyed going to the movies in general. Although I will say that in general, if I think about maybe the last year or so of my experience. When I'm in a movie theater, it is incredibly common that there are people on their phones the entire time that you're
or
in there, talking to each other, not paying attention to the degree that you're like, movie tickets cost over $15 now. What the fuck are you even doing here?
Get the fuck out of here.
That's what I mean. Like, why are you here? But it's weird because people are doing it, and it's just, I don't know. It just really lends itself, I think, to the credence that people have no attention span anymore.
No.
And short form content, because of like social media and stuff, has really made it easier for people not to have any attention span. But it's incredibly strange to me that you would pay money to sit in a dark room surrounded by strangers and like scroll through Instagram the entire time that you're in there,
Or be talking.
or be talking to each other.
It's incredibly rude, and it just makes you wonder: is this like a generational thing? Where,
I don't know.
Like I don't know. At some point, like we just stopped really caring about like movie
Yeah.
etiquette or something. 'Cause
Yeah,
we stopped going to the movies so often.
I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. I definitely think that COVID set us back with a lot of that
Yeah.
because I feel like that didn't really happen as much
Yeah.
before. But like post COVID, going to the movie theater is like a weird experience
Yeah.
now, where they were empty for a long time, even after. Like, there wouldn't be as many people going. Things were getting released on streaming services and to rent and stuff much earlier, and they
Really,
still
yeah.
are as well. So I think that it kind of started to make a difference where everybody got so used for like 2.5 years, so used to watching things at home that it's like they started going back to the movie theater and for some reason forgot that you're actually not supposed to talk to someone else for the entire film.
It's kind of weird, isn't it?
It's weird.
I mean, personally, I really only go to the movie theaters for the popcorn now.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, yeah, because a lot of the big releases are like, okay, sure.
Like, they're okay. Like, I think the last movie I was excited to go see at the movie theater was the Hunger Games one that came out.
Yeah.
Ballad
Which
of
was a lot.
Songbirds and Snakes.
Which was what, last fall?
It was
November of last year?
November.
I think, or
I
something.
think that was the last one I was like excited to go
Yeah.
see because it felt nostalgic because
Yeah, sure,
of the
yeah.
in the past,
So
it's-
I think that's why we do still get a lot of these that are either piggybacking off of series that were popular 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
or things that are like remaking those types of things because all they can count on right now for these big, huge budget productions that are like theatrical releases, all they can count on are really like nostalgia viewers. So I think that's why we're getting, what did I come across? I came across the other week, there's some sort of new Lord of the Rings film being produced by Peter Jackson. Something's happening.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna have to read up on that
And I
because I
was
know
like-
that the second season of The Rings of Power is coming out.
Yeah, they've been working on that as well. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. And I think that's why it's so funny because it's like they're counting on it. So that's what they're doing. But it also creates this like level of like fatigue for a lot
Yeah.
of people where they're like, okay, well, I can't be bothered with this
Right.
anymore. Like we've been there. We've done this
Yeah.
already. How many times do we need to revisit the same thing?
Exactly. Yep.
Which is why a lot of these newer ones, it would be great to see a lot of these untouched series get a chance to be adapted.
Well, it would be great to see them be adapted to a movie in some cases. Like
would
I know
be
we
interesting
don't love it,
for some
but
of
like
them.
it might kind of create a bit of a revival of people wanting to go to the movie. Like
Possibly.
I would be excited.
Well,
like,
because with like the beautiful effects and things that are
Yeah.
created for these types of films, right?
Yeah.
It would be nice to see those on like a big screen and have that kind of experience that people
Exactly.
just so often don't have anymore.
Exactly. I mean, like Barbie and Oppenheimer last year was like a whole other
Of course.
phenomenon. But like, yeah, it would just be nice to see if they would do some of these like movies adapted into a book.
Exactly. I agree. But anyway, I think that it's going to be interesting. If we do, I wonder if you're right to your point. And I think that if we get one or two big ones that get a big screen adaptation, like a film adaptation, if that might help kick off some of these other ones that would probably benefit more, let's say, from being adapted into a television show, for
Yes.
instance, like some of the ones that are very like long reaching and like very large series that would need that kind of time to develop. I wonder if that would maybe help.
It could.
Maybe.
Be interesting.
It would be interesting to see.
Think about it, production company.
Yeah. Like they really care what any of us have to
No,
say.
I know.
It's whatever's going to make them the most money.
Well, they got to do something different, like, because it's getting a little sad.
Oh, it is a bit. Yeah, that's it. We need these big things, like, you know, these big drops throughout the year to get us excited. That's why everybody just goes feral when there's like a new season of Bridgerton or something like that comes out, because
ourselves included.
Exactly, because it's just something like it's this big fandom that's been created
it's
now.
It's like a community thing. Right?
It is,
like
yeah.
it's like if you go back to thinking about like Game of Thrones, how they used to drop a new episode every week, and we would have Game of Thrones viewing parties every week. Like it's that community feel where you're like all really excited for something and you can watch it together. You know,
and it harkens back to a time where everything was released weekly, because all you had were TV shows on major networks, and you knew, every Thursday is a new episode of this, every Sunday is a new episode of this, and everybody would sit down at home and watch them together.
If there was a big movie coming out, you were all really excited.
Everyone was going to see it,
at the movie theater.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We want that back.
Yeah, that would be nice. You know what? And I hope you guys feel the same.
Yeah, we're old.
But no matter what your feelings are about it, or if there are other high fantasy like series and or books, whatever, that you think would really benefit from a screen adaptation, you can let us know about that over on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at FullyBookedCA. And you can also check out our Facebook group, which is at facebook.com/groups/book was way better. But until next week, guys, keep on reading.
Thanks, everyone.